The company's a third party that hired them.
How's your wife doing?
Do that.
Having a good summer?
Yeah, she. Do that. Do you feel from your surgery?
I'm much better. I'm much better. I don't. I mean, I think at 70, you don't get back 100%. I just, I know every morning it's gonna be a new day.
It's like
Something else is gonna hurt.
It's like exercise and hoping, you don't get stronger. No, you're not. Everybody's like, you're gonna get sore. You're gonna get tired.
Yeah.
Support that.
But I don't think that's homework.
It says we're live.
Yeah,
As
we're.
long as we're not-
16 months.
All right, gentlemen, time to call meeting to order for the April 20th Water Board Public Utilities Meeting at 4:32 in the afternoon. We'll start with the approval of the minutes of the March 16th, 23 regular meeting. Do I have a motion or any changes or objections?
Motion to approve.
Okay, have a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Barry and Steve. Any questions, deletions, changes, recommendations? Not, all in favor, say aye. All opposed by like sign. All right, take a look at the financial statements, the water budget tracking system. Current revenue is $1,283,000 against the budgeted amount of $1,179,000. Continues to be on ahead of budget and on track. The expenses below are look on the back here, $1,170,000 against a budget of $1,074,000. Glenda and Tim and I were going through and looking at the financials and working on the budget for the next year. And we noted that in the account number 00711-0220 maintenance and repairs, there was the CROM for cleaning up the tank has been charged into an expense as opposed to it was a budgeted capital item, and that's $54,000 that will come out of there to be transferred to capital. And then we also noted in there that with the shortage of manpower and so forth, that Reveal has had over $50,000 worth of expenses getting the final meters installed and in place and so forth. So that is an unusual item that will not be carried forward into the next fiscal year. So there's about 100,000, maybe 110,000 in there that will come out of that number. So that really brings it more down to the 200,000, or a little closer to the 200,000 we budgeted for the year. There's also expenses in that account where during last year before, when parts were short-handed, we ordered a lot of parts and couldn't get delivery, so we ordered more parts. Then those parts we ordered first came in, so there's in the inventory and so forth, but so that number is very high, but it's reasonable, and we understand the reason for that. So
Our parts getting any easier, supply chains getting any easier to deal with.
I'm
For you.
sorry.
our supply chain's getting any easier for you to deal with?
Some,
A little bit, good.
Yep.
Not perfect, but
right.
Okay, on the sewer budget tracking, it also revenue wise is well above budget at 512,000 against budgeted 446. There was no unusual expense items noted in there. The expenses are $1,283,000. I do know, and Tim knows there was some pumps that we had to buy that we weren't anticipating
Right.
buying. And so, and some of the lift stations. So they are there and, but we're down 119,000 versus a budgeted amount of 266,000. So all in all, the finances are in reasonably good shape.
on the sewer, we had penalties there. It looks like we're ahead of schedule on penalties. On the front page of that sewer budget tracking 3, it says 6,095 versus 4,500. Is that residential? Is that more commercial?
That's residential.
Really?
Mhm. Yeah. It's people paying late and so forth. On the March trial balance report, the cash balance at March 31st was $1,159,000 against last year of March 22nd of $1,100,000. So we're back up holding even on our cash balance that we've got. Would also note that in the revenue for the water and also the revenue for the sewer, that interest earned is way above what we anticipated in the budgets for this year with the interest rates rising and so forth. So we've been able to gain some extra revenue there in interest earned. So
And our loans, those loans aren't going up that we have out, right? There's fixed,
yeah,
but any new loans we get, I assume may not get quite the deal
maybe
we've had.
put the deal on that, right? So. All right, I wanted to have Tim touch base with us on the iron copper survey that is going on. He mentioned that the city council meeting that not getting much response from that. So Tim, you want to comment on that, please?
The lead and copper survey it's been mandated by the federal government that we have to do it. We have to have it completed by December of 2024. It's to fulfill the federal regulations. There are several steps that we have to go through to do the assessment survey. We put out onto the website the survey that you can go to. It's simple, it's easy. If I can do it in 3 minutes, anybody can do it in 2. It's very simple to do.
Where is it?
It's on the city website. And all you do is scan the icon and it'll take you straight to the survey and it submits it to our database. Everything that's submitted to it goes straight to our database. And then I go in daily and I look and see who has, and I have to certify what they put in. It's just,
Tim, we did that. It wasn't that easy for us, but I think we got it done. But I think one of the big things that asked you to do is attach a picture
Yes,
between your meter and your house.
you don't have to.
Okay, well, when you go to click it, I didn't, and it wouldn't take it.
Okay,
So I went out in my garage and took a picture and put on it,
that's fine.
but it's really not at the meter.
Right.
So I just, I
As
think,
long as it's got a picture attached to it. I mean, I know there's been a few that's submitted it that hadn't, because I see everything that's submitted.
yeah,
Because in order for me to verify it, I have to look at, if you submit a picture, I've got to look at it and I've got to say, okay, he submitted PVC, it's PVC.
mhm,
I mean, I've got to go back through it. But I got a email today from Rural Water on a paper one that we can put up here in the office,
mhm.
and people that can pick it up, they fill it out, bring it back to City Hall or drop it in the mailbox. And I'll go through them.
Take the picture if it.
I'll go through them and certify them that way.
Mhm.
If not, this survey, it takes about 3 to 4 steps off of what the federal regulation is saying that we have to do by us just submitting. Whether anybody does anything, I've still got to do my part. So I've got to do it.
Mhm.
And I mean, if we're not sure,
What percent do they take as valid?
I really don't know. And I mean, I can go, what we can do is we can go off of, like when we go out and do main repairs and so on and so forth, I know what the mains are. I mean, I know that. Service lines, 90% of them, I know what they are. And most of them, what's coming off the meter by the area of town, I can tell you just about what's coming off of the paper. Because I mean, it's just a way that if it's in certain parts of town, they use nothing but copper coming off of the meter setter going to the house. If it's a house with a concrete slab, if it's an older house with a concrete slab, it's going to be copper. Unless it's been redone. I mean, that's
Mhm.
it's something that we
Yeah.
have to take into consideration. But I mean, it's just, we've got to do it. So,
And
And I
your
mean-
house being relatively new should be
right,
Yeah, well, yeah. I
not
mean,
having lead or copper.
mm,
much
Right.
anyway. Same as mine.
to my knowledge, there is no lead pipe
Right,
nowhere in California.
right.
There
right.
never has been.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's not some lead joint pipe. Back years ago, a lot of the cast iron, they used what they called leadite.
Mhm.
And that was the sealant for that coupling or for that joint. You put a packing material in around your joint, and then you poured lead around the outside of it, and that was the sealant. I mean, now there is a few of those that's still left in town, but very few. But I mean, it's simple to do. I mean, we're gonna have to do it, but there is lots of cities and lots of municipalities that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this survey.
Yeah.
When are you gonna put the stickers on, or have you already?
No, we have not. We are gonna put them on, not this billing here that's coming out, but the next billing.
Okay.
And
Couldn't remember.
I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna put them on twice because we've got a year. We're gonna put them on now and say in 6 or 8 months, we'll
idea.
put them on again. But I mean, the more the people can help us out with
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
the whole lot less expensive
Yeah.
it's gonna be to the city. Because I sure don't want to go out and dig up somebody's yard.
So if you know people or whatnot, you might nudge them a little bit to get that, to look at it and get it done, and Tim nudged me twice already and I still haven't come.
Yeah,
Be an example.
As of this morning, we have not had but 8
Oh, my
submitted.
goodness.
you gotta be kidding. You got mine, right?
Yeah.
All right.
We have to have 100, I mean, we have to have 100%.
Yeah, I'll have to do 100%.
Yeah,
We have what, 1,600
Mhm.
customers?
We either have to get them
Oh, we're.
from the residents or we have to go out and do it ourselves, so.
Well, if what Steve is talking about is, I mean, that'd be a big problem for most people. Particularly older people that don't know how to use phones and
That's
stuff.
exactly right.
So how do we make that easy? How do we make it known? Because right now they're just hitting brick walls. How do we fix
Right.
that?
The paper form that they sent me today,
Uh-huh.
that rural water just came out with today.
Yeah.
In fact, I got it today. We're gonna put it up here and it would be, if it's easy, it'd be easier for the people and it's the same thing, except you're just doing it on paper and then I go on and I submit it electronically.
And you don't have to have the picture, this picture
No,
that.
no.
So we need to tell Blair to add that to the website.
Right.
That those are.
I think if you
available.
take
Right.
that picture requirement off, it would be a 3-minute process. But, I went out and tried to pry up my little valve thing where I could get down in there where it was saying, Mr. Follow the Rule guy, And I just give up on it. So I just went back in the garage, caught it coming in the garage to my water softener. And that's what I took a
Right.
picture of.
Right.
But it would not take it till we put a picture on.
Hmm.
And I could have done it by myself.
Right.
I had to get Teresa involved in it, So
I think you need to put it in the church bulletins.
We also need, need
That old
when
crap.
come in up here to pay their bills or ask questions that she
Right.
needs to
And it's okay.
nudge them at the window there.
Right.
With the paper thing.
But I mean, we're gonna put it on the water bill that way because they want your account number and that way it'll be right there when you looking at it on your bill, when you scan it. It'll have it on there.
Yeah, it'd be good. But I mean, I think you need to think about, if you need 100%, we're gonna have to do some more promoting here.
Yeah, I
Like
think
Blair's
so.
on it.
may even have to put a little $5 rebate or something. I mean.
Yeah, I was gonna say some kind of incentive. It could be positive or negative.
Yeah.
We're gonna cut your water off. next
Well,
month. You don't get a bill.
And we-
I'm just, a little joke. a little joke there.
Well, let's think
It's
about
live.
it. We're, is it, I'm not making opinions, I'm thinking out loud. Is there any significant difference between paying somebody $5 to fill out? I mean, bottom line is, it's our responsibility to fill out the forms.
Right,
And if we're paying somebody to fit $5 to fill out a form, is that significantly different than paying anybody else to paint a building or
right,
clean a water tower?
right.
It seems pretty similar to me.
Take care of our next water bill.
Be a lot cheaper
than
$50,000.
You better believe it.
In the packet that rural water sent me, that was one of the options. Was
I'll tell you another thing.
was
The deadline on it. The
was
deadline like
on the
November.
on the thing that you put on your bill. If you submit this survey, you will be given a $5 credit on your next water bill.
So they've determined that it's okay. Seems to me rational.
Yeah.
That doesn't always mean you ought to do it, but, yeah.
You gotta have
that seems
100%. That was
reasonable to
my
me.
concern. If you needed 10%, we can scrag along and
And I
get it.
mean,
But if you need
I don't
everybody,
know whether we could,
How we do?
I think we can. So maybe we could put that with one of the bills. Of course. You want to be careful that you don't neglect the 8 people that sent them to you in the beginning.
what
Yes.
it'll do, it'll automatic, because I mean, I've got them.
You have mine.
Steve will be-
Put mine on. I've got.
Hey, you need that $5.
So I mean, that's
that would
no,
be a tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, I think we can. I think we should. I'm not a should kind of guy, but.
I think some of our older people's Greg's brought up that particularly widows.
Right.
And elderly. I think it's gonna really throw them at when it says you need to take a picture of that between where your meter's at before it gets to your house.
Right.
I think that's a.
Well, also, I guess it asks what type of pipe it is. too.
Right.
They
it
did,
does.
and they may not
Some of it-
understand that, you know.
Well, now,
It gives samples, but
when you go to it. You can, there's a place on the form that you can check if you need assistance. Submit what you can submit and check need assistance. I'll be glad to come help you with it.
okay, so we might wanna make that clear.
Right.
You know, and a lot of people may not know when the house they're living in may not know when it was.
Oh, yeah, they may have never seen the water line. You know.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the answer to that.
Can you see the pipe in the meter? Can you actually see the?
You got that with pencil, you got a new meter where you got that one box, you can take that.
Yeah.
Box out, the cutoff thing, and you can take a picture down through that.
I just thought there was like a metal pipe that went down and then it made a connection to your line. I haven't looked at. mine
There
either.
is.
Yeah.
You can also look typically around your hot water tank where
Yeah.
it comes.
I'm
in the
gonna say
house to see
90.
what it is there.
98%. I can tell you what it is that goes through our house.
I know mine's PVC where it comes through the wall.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's 200.
But my mom and dad, well, my dad could, but if it was left to my mom, she didn't know there's a water pipe going to that.
Right.
It ain't water pipe.
So if you're, and if you're talking about, you gotta go downstairs to look at your water heater. That's no longer a 3-minute job. We're now into a 3-hour job because first you gotta figure out where the water heater is.
Right.
And you know, when you're talking about people that are just not sophisticated with regard to that stuff, and I'm not very sophisticated myself, but I could probably find a water heater.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll be glad to assist anybody. I mean, we're gonna have to do it anyway, so I mean, but we'll be glad to assist anybody. But if anybody, I mean, if they'll just make an effort, you know.
Have you, is Allison already aware? Allison that sits right there in that chair, is she ready to receive those phone calls? Because somebody calls and that's a problem when they call here and Allison doesn't know what she's talking
Right.
about. And
Yes, we've talked and I've told her to just refer them to me or get their number and I'll call them back or. Because I mean, we gotta do it one way or the other. We gotta do it.
Only a federal employee could think you could get 100%.
Kidding. That might be.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
I mean, this is a step that we don't have to take. But it eliminates about 4 steps that we would have to take.
Yeah, right. Be helpful.
So,
So if you can get 50-75% of them, then that's only.
right,
Fewer that we have to
Make it
do.
a contest or
but I
something.
mean, I'll be glad to help anybody.
We got,
what's our time frame for getting this done?
Year.
December 2024.
Year from
Oh, a year.
full year.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how this works. We sit on our thumbs for a year, that's 5 months, and then the last month they go for her.
Yeah.
That's the reason I'm
Let's get it,
trying to
yeah.
get on it now.
Good meeting.
well, I didn't want to be the only board member come to this meeting today and not have done that. But I see shouldn't have worried about yourself.
I think he deserves a gold star myself.
Yeah, let's give him a star.
Give him a- He needs a sticker.
You get to leave early.
5 minutes early. That's right. Need more-
$5, 5 minutes.
That's right. That's right.
All right, on the next item on the agenda is the CROM inspection report, and I put that on there because we need to talk about it a little bit. CROM was in here, did the inspection of our 1.5 million gallon ground storage tank on October the 22nd. And as a part of that inspection, a lot of things was very good and looked good. But there are some items that needs to be looked at. Let's see, here's one that says cracked wall brackets, dive video, so-and-so, loose rungs, dive video such. Ladders standard, OSHA standard requires ladders with structural or other defects be tagged dangerous, do not use, or with similar language and removed from service until repaired or replaced. That's an item that we need to, is that on the outside, Tim, or is that on the inside?
Inside,
That was on the inside. Okay, so it's not used very often.
no,
But we do use that, but it's an item that we probably need to consider a recommendation of repair of what it needs to be done there to get it into top shape, and it shows some pictures of it as well. Tank floor, they say the condition rating's unknown. It was not possible due to residual sedimentary buildup on the floor, exposed areas. Cracks less than 1/64 of an inch were noted sporadically on the tank floor. No other defects noted. No remedial action required at this time. Monitor the condition at the next scheduled inspection. Interior tank walls, again, condition ratings fair, horizontal and vertical cracks with effervescent, a SPALL spall was noted on interior wall at location of prior baffle curtain support cable anchorage. Was there as well. Interior piping was noted as fair. Corrosion noted on flanges and pipe support fasteners for the 16-inch DIP inlet line. Minor corrosion staining noted at the 16-inch DIP outlet drive. Recommendation: prepare the surface of interior pipes and apply appropriate coating systems accordance with manufacturer's representation. There's a baffle curtain condition rating fair. No defects noted on the baffle curtain membrane wall. Brackets, corrosion noted on fasteners for floor mounting bracket. Replace fasteners with new stainless steel fasteners. Recommendation.
This stuff all underwater?
Sorry.
Is all this stuff underwater? you're talking
Yes.
about?
Underwater.
Yeah, it's a tank storage.
And so these people have to work on it underwater? We get all this work done? We drain it?
Chrome recommends a level 2 inspection by October 19th of 27 in accordance with AWWA. And to fulfill the requirements of the Kentucky Division of Water.
When was that inspection, Dan?
This inspection was in October.
The one they recommend.
The one that the October 19th, 27, that's. I can make you guys copies of this if you want.
October
About 18.
2027, you're saying,
Yes.
down the road?
Would y'all like me to just send that to you? I have it in an email. You look at it, we all email it.
Yeah, just sent to us.
Yeah, that's 5 years is what they're saying there. One of the things that Tim indicated to me is that we need to give consideration to getting some of this repaired, because if we go, as we move forward with the split system and getting things in order, you may not be able to take the
It's gonna be harder.
tank down.
I mean, the tank's been there 20 years. Right at 20 years. And the proposal that they sent on doing all the repairs it wasn't very much money, not for what all they're saying do. From what I'm seeing,
You have it.
From what I'm seeing, it's
Looking at-
less than $25,000. That's fixing all the cracks, fixing all the piping, getting everything back up to snuff. $25,000 for 20 years, I don't think you can complain. And that's cleaning the bottom of the tank out. As that when they've got it empty, they will clean the interior of the tank, they get all the sediment that's in it up. I don't think that you could get them to come in and dive and vacuum it out for less than 15,000.
The only thing is
So-
they're not, they said they were unable to, I mean, we may get a lot of change orders and say, cut that sediment off that bottom. If they couldn't.
For the cracks.
So that'll bump that up.
Is it sitting on a rotten bed?
Yes.
We're talking about the Galvin tank out there, 95.
No.
No, the big concrete pre-stressed tank at the water plant,
Okay.
1.5 million.
One we just.
It's
painted
sitting
this year.
on, Greg, they undercut that
Did-
and put 10 feet
Oh,
of shot rock underneath, and then it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was about 3 feet of dense grade on top of the 10 feet of shot rock. Because that part of, there's no bottom in that, in that ground down there.
it drains out the bottom, but I mean,
Yes.
it's got some kind of drain coming out. the
Right.
bottom.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's been 20 years.
Yeah, it
That's
was,
amazing to
I
me.
think it is right, it's right at, it's right at
We
20
just
years.
paid the loan off. That's the one that the city paid the principal of
Yeah.
that.
100,000 a
And-
year
yes.
for.
And water and sewer paid the interest and service fees.
We didn't have a ceremony?
Hmm.
We didn't have a ceremony? I love paying off loans.
We should have. Wow,
But it's
just
20
love
years.
getting it off my.
Yeah, but you do.
Yeah.
Last
I
night.
mean,
Can we
I
get
didn't
something back?
think the proposal was that high for that.
No, you know, I guess I think it's very reasonable, but I'm worried about that bottom.
Right. Well, I mean,
You could
it's not
reline it.
showing any
Can you
leaks.
line it? Can you reline it if you had to?
Yes,
So should we budget that for next year? Is that what you're thinking? Would
I,
it be next year before they would do it?
Right.
So I'm just thinking we need to
Right.
consider
Would be in
that.
the next, in the next budget year, but. for doing
I mean,
it, we
Okay.
wanna
that's what
recommend
I would. Because, like I said, on the split system, it's gonna be hard to. It's gonna be hard to, you can take it down and do it, but it's gonna be. It's gonna be tough.
Is that stuff on the bottom just lime residue?
It just iron settlement,
Oh,
that's all it is.
was that gonna cause?
I don't think it could cause a problem with the, I don't think there's, Steve, I don't think there's a problem there that you're concerned about that there's major
Be
cracks
leaking,
or
right,
anything in it like that.
I don't think it is because the videos that I watched. And I watched it, one of the divers was inside the tank. And then the videos that I was watching while he was in the tank, most of the time. If it's a crack, you could tell where if there was any kind of crack at all, you could tell by the settlement that was in it. I mean, you could see, even though it was, say, settlement a 1/8 of an inch thick, you could still see exactly right where the crack was at. Because it would just, you could see it. But I mean, I didn't see any cracks around it.
According to their recommendation too, it says that a rating of fair indicates an element of accessory requiring remedial action before the next scheduled 5-year inspection. And then poor indicates immediate action required is what they're suggesting and saying that that's what those ratings.
And what did they rate this tank?
There. I mean, I think the bottom
The
was
tank,
there.
there was 3 or 4 items in here that was rated fair. It was.
Was anything rated for?
Nope.
I don't think so. I think the bottom though, it rated, what they did raise it. fair.
Well, yeah, there was the interior
Ladder.
ladder was poor and said.
The
market
interior ladder.
Do not use.
We never go in it.
Yeah.
I mean, the only time you would ever go in it would be to do an inspection. Well, I'm not no diver, so I'm not gonna go in.
And the floor was rated unknown.
Right.
Because they couldn't actually, they had to clean it before they really know for sure of that.
And with,
Interior tank walls were fair. Interior piping was fair. Baffle curtain was fair.
And all this $25,000 worth of stuff that they're talking about doing,
is repairing all that.
and repairing all that,
I mean, cleaning it, right?
Right, and cleaning the
Clean
bottom.
the bottom.
yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, I think we'll
you gotta make that recommendation.
budget and make that recommendation to do that. Is what I think.
Mhm.
I mean, it's.
I mean, to me, it's a no brainer, but
Mhm.
Are there coatings on the walls and the floor?
no,
Just like concrete,
it's concrete.
and they don't put any kind of waterproofing coating on it?
Yes, yes, they do. They did when it was
When it was
built
put
and
in.
they will knew when they'll recoat it
So
with this.
is that, will the bottom be recoated once they clean it?
Yes,
It's part of that price?
Yes.
Oh, well, then, yeah, I think that even.
and I
if
mean, the concrete floor on it is 3.5 foot thick. So, and I mean, it's not showing,
Right. So that sounds like if they,
but
Even if it
now,
wasn't-
I mean, I think now would be a good time. You're 20 years.
Mhm.
It's, I think it was a 50-year lifespan on it. You're almost at half, so. And for no more of the cost, give you more of an idea of where you're gonna be at the next 30 years.
Well, if it is gonna start deteriorating, it'll start deteriorating over the next 5 years.
Right,
Because the
right,
coating will be
Right.
worn off and.
right,
You'll save a lot more than 5 years. and
Right.
Just go ahead and fix it.
right. I think it'd be money well spent.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, let's make a motion to recommend to the mayor and the city council to consider following the recommendation of CROM report on the 1.5 million groundwater storage tank.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Motion by Bill, second by Barry. Any other questions, comments? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, but like sign. Okay. All right,
Oh, and I want to throw in there and have a ceremony. So.
you want to have a party, that's what you're a party animal.
What?
Attached to your documents is a report from a Kentucky Rural Water Association proposed rate study. Okay, so cost of this study, if we elect to do that, would be $11,250. I think that one of the things that we need to do to recommend and to know exactly where we are rate wise and where we are within the city is that we need to proceed to have this proposed rate study done. I think it will give us rates from surrounding cities, maybe a like size across the state and wherever, and give us an idea of where we need to be. I don't know what the reaction of city council would be if we do that. But even if they don't choose to raise the rates, they at least know
We'll know where we're at.
where we're rated and where we are in the lineup. And I think it would be money well spent to come up with that as we recommend proposals to the city council for projects and so forth, then they know where the money's coming from to pay for it or what it needs to be done.
Well, one thing, unique about Coward is our chemical industry complex. I'm sure there's small towns that do have such a large complex, stuff. So would they, but I wouldn't think there would be many. So do you think this group would be prepared to address that aspect of our, how we create a revenue here? We looked not long ago and it was over 50% comes from chemical complex.
I think they would be able to take that into consideration. They do this all the time for everywhere across the state of Kentucky, so I think they would be able to weigh that, put a weight on that as they go through the study. I mean.
Do we bill them differently because they use more water, or do they use more water in the chemical complex that they buy from us?
We're billed based on meter size.
Meter size.
Yeah, they've got a,
I mean, there's a base rate on meter size.
There's a
and
base
then-
rate on meter
That's
side,
coming back to me, yeah.
and then
But what that meter size, you mean, really means pipe size, right? Or how big?
I mean.
yeah, it's,
Right.
there's
That's what that means.
3/4 inch meters, 1 inch meters, 2 inch
Right.
meters.
Yeah, well, is that just,
But ultimately, we build by 1,000 gallons.
Yes, by
Right.
gallons used.
Yeah.
But there's a
Gallon
base
used,
rate
yeah.
on.
Right. And I'm gonna guess all of them always pass their base rate.
Like
don't
for the
they?
first 2,000 and
Yeah.
then 2,000 to 5,000 and then over 5,000.
Right.
The rate changes.
so that's the same for citizens, but they're the only ones that have to deal with it, right?
Well, they just use so much. It's almost
They
like
just do more.
tax rates.
More.
Yes.
The more income you make, your rate drops as it rises as you go on taxes.
Right.
Taxes,
But
yeah,
with
that's a
ours-
bad example.
It's backwards to that. The opposite of that, the more water you use,
right,
Better
the
deal.
less we charge. Yeah.
Less per gallon.
per thousand
Walmart
gallons.
model.
Yeah, per 1,000 gallons you give, you pay less.
And so you're saying they could look at all this and given our expenses and our needs to keep things in good standing.
I think it would just give us an idea more of an idea of where we're at.
Yeah.
I mean,
And they do these regularly?
yes,
This group is tied back to where we borrowed some money and some things like that. Aren't they somewhat connected in some way?
Rural Water Association.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they don't. In other words. They're not gonna subsidize. People that are undercharging. So I just wonder if that. Is a detriment to those if you don't do it.
Don't
See
do
where
it.
I'm coming about the grants and other things, if you haven't done due diligence on your costs. And your fees, does that ever come up in any of that language?
Ability to pay is what he's saying.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen them use that yet. So far, the city of Calvert City had joined. They had to sign this agreement to be able to make loans from rural water.
Right.
And you had to join. You had to be a club member. But other than that, I've not seen them. Make requirements that you have certain charges or that you have those extraneous financial measurements.
They do.
Evaluation criteria
They do look at them.
before they make their grants and their loan approvals. I was unaware.
But whenever, Chad,
Uh-huh.
they take care of, I don't have to do that. I just have to give them some information and then like our rate sheets. And so, yes, they do.
Oh.
You know, the
We have a
most grants I
project
dealt
there you
with,
go.
they were looking for survey results, they
I
were
was not
looking
aware of that.
for some documentation.
Okay.
Of where you were at, what you had
Yes, they do look at that.
on
They're
the
looking
loan.
at it to make sure they think you can make your payment.
I mean, they're a bank.
based on what you're
to a certain
charging, what your
extent.
expenses are, and
So whether you're a member or not. Just because you're a member doesn't mean you're gonna get to participate. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, they're-
they,
Okay.
they do look at that.
Can you pay your loan?
based on in talking to Roger in the past, I don't think there's any requirement for you to, if they come back and say, well, you know, you're at X rate per gallon and you really need to be at this rate per gallon, there's not gonna be a requirement for you to move to that if you're willing to supplement that, is my thinking, but it gives you an idea that if what Benton would be and what Grand Rivers would be and what similar areas of the state would be as far as what everybody's charging versus what we're charging. And I think, you know, we're probably low in that cycle, but we're still have been pretty good about increasing based on our cost of living adjustments we take every year. So we're not just sitting doing nothing. you know.
Well, how long ago was it that, I mean, Roger told us, Roger set up that annual increase
Right.
and estimated that and. I mean, we didn't just pull that out of the air, that was a calculated,
No, that is
But
calculated,
It's calculated. every
but
year.
as to whether or not it's sufficient,
right, that's
we don't, well, I mean, that was 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
with
It's a long
our
time ago.
aging infrastructure.
Yeah.
Correct. I was just at
Well,
a training,
we started out with one
Mhm.
that was the regular CPI covering everything.
Right,
And then later, we went with the water, sewer
Right.
and trash.
but prior to all of that, we didn't have, that was not part of the situation, we had to go in and ask for rate increases every time we got one, and that's how we got so far behind.
Right.
And that's when we instituted the annual increase.
Right.
But you probably do need to review it periodically because, you know, nobody can tell what future holds. So back 15 years ago.
Yeah.
They guessed the best they could, to figure out how much they needed to increase, but
Say an annual increase, I mean, it's tied to,
see,
and it, yes, CPI.
CPI.
So is, what does it say when CPI drops? Say we have stagflation or
Well, we reduced it.
deflation.
I think we did once. didn't
We
we?
reduced it a
Yeah.
time or two.
Okay, because you said annual increase. It's not
well,
guaranteed this.
That's right. Right. It's usually an increase.
I agree.
Usually an increase.
But
There
it's
was
not
a
all-
period of time before we switched to the water and sewer and garbage CPI, that it was floating just up and down, up and down, up and down, and we weren't making really any headway.
Got it. Well, and I'm looking at the second page, looks like there's a lot of documentation they want. We're gonna be able to put that together, know where all these things are they want. Photos, records, historical construction. And they want a lot of goods, I don't have to put it together, I'm not complaining,
Right.
but I know it falls on somebody's shoulders here.
This customer engagement part of this, so is that for our people that? you
Is
know,
it on page 2?
I mean, yeah, it's on the, I don't see a page number here. It's
Get the
page
info.
3, I think.
Okay, third page in it.
Yeah, that's, I mean, we're dealing, we can't get them to do the lead thing. We're in.
I was at a training a few weeks ago and the manager of Ashland, Kentucky. They were looking at a $50 million plus water plant.
Mhm.
And so they had spent a lot of money. When I told him about a rate study, it was gonna cost us like 10 or 11,000, he was like, we've just spent way more than.
I would imagine.
Study
Mhm.
because they needed one because there's no way they could pay for a $50
That's
million
right.
water plant.
Right.
So they had to see what did we need to move our rates to in order to be able to pay for this. So that's what they,
And that would be something too, that this would fit in with us as well, if we look at projects and whatever that we're proposing to do. And have to do, that if we need, how we're gonna pay for them.
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, we got in that situation last budget year, how are we gonna pay for these projects? And then all of a sudden we started was lucky to start getting grants and so forth. They
Yes.
took care of a lot of
That's
that. But
been great.
if we have to pay for it out of our budget, then it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. I gotta get
Thanks,
up
Greg.
there in a little bit.
See, Greg.
So I'll just keep this till Monday?
Yeah, just hang on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think it's good information to have.
Yeah, I think we
I
need to.
I mean, I do, and I think it helped. I think it can be used to our advantage on these grants and different things that we may pursue, because then we've got an updated report that was a third party number.
Yes, a third party.
And so
Somebody
it,
that's not-
you know, yes, so it wasn't an internally generated thing.
Right.
Right.
So I think it, I know, you know, of course, the city's got a council have to prove it, but I make a motion, we recommend that we consider doing this study. So we've got a better idea of where we fit. I'd say that with a caveat. I sure hope that our industry partners know that we're not going some roundabout way to increase the rates. So Michael, you.
I don't think that
You know,
bothers
we
them.
don't
I
want
mean,
them
They
to-
look at us the same things all the time as to how they need to raise their product
Yeah.
and who's what. So
Yeah.
they will understand. And we're not saying that we're gonna raise it. It's just.
No.
Right, we just
I agree.
need to see where we're at.
Need to see.
I
where we
agree.
are.
So I make that recommendation
All right.
that we just,
Have a motion from Steve to recommend the proposed rate study to the mayor and city council.
Second.
Do I have a second from Barry? Okay. All right, any other questions, comments? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, but like sign, so. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you all for that.
Well,
We've
just
been,
one comment on it. I mean, again, I think that's, you know, we've batted around building a new water plant, a number, what? 9 million, with the 15 million or something like that.
I'm telling now, yeah.
Well, you may,
It'd be 20 now.
And so. Do we need to, don't have to today, but do we need to keep looking at a direction there and, you know, because they're gonna ask that question, right? Maybe they'll answer the question,
I
right?
fear they'll answer it.
I figured
Okay,
that answer.
good. And that could be our impetus. Okay, I love it. Let's
Yeah,
do it.
okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right, just to comment on the 23-24 budget, Linda, Tim and I, spent some time today working on it. Linda's been working on it. Putting together a budget for that. It's gonna be handled a little different this year since we're now a department of the city. So, and we're an advisory board and, we'll talk about maybe some projects and so forth to put in the budget, but detail of the budget will not that you guys couldn't have some input, but that's sort of the way it's been according to the city attorney and some others. So, but we are working on that. We'll have it. Gonna have it ready for the next city council meeting or shortly thereafter, right?
Right,
A
budget
proposed
workshops.
workshop.
They do that. It'll just be presented with everything else.
So we'll continue to work on that.
We worked on revenues and water expenses, but we didn't make it so we ran out of time.
Alright. So, moving on down the list, Tim O'Reilly's is,
Pipe is on the job. He's supposed to start fusing pipe, next week. And then probably the latter part of next week, he'll bore it and shoot it under. So the project, it'll be done before the next board meeting.
so now does he tie it in or is that tied in by?
Yes, they
After,
tied it.
after he shoots it under, then they tie it in
Yeah.
to the line, so. And this is phase one of that project. We're not yet. Because we were initially funding it ourselves. we weren't getting, we're still got to get it out from under the liquor store's parking lot and get it bypassed around that and tie back in behind Dairy Queen. To get all of that taken care of there, and that's another phase that we'll be working on there. PB Cloud still in engineering.
Yes, me and Chad, we walked it last week, looked at some different things on it, and I think he got everything. I mean, it should be going here before too much longer.
That's grant money on that, right?
Right.
And we have everything in for it.
And all the paperwork's in, ready?
Yep.
Done, or. Okay. All right, and the VFDs and controls upgrade, we talked about getting the bid documents out, and I think Chad's worked on that. Has he?
They got the city council accept the resolution.
Oh, yes, on both of those grants, the Old Gilbertsville and the VFDs, they did the resolutions at the council meeting, and I'm waiting on Greg. I reminded him this morning, he has to do a letter,
Right.
and he said he would get on that. Cause I think we have all the other exhibits ready. I think I've sent them all to Chad. I
Right.
have them. I've had the mayor sign them and send them all. We're just waiting on Greg's part.
Cause I've done,
That'll be good. Then we can get the money for the Gilbertsville, cause it's already finished. So then we can get the money. And then
fact,
we're
I
gonna
think-
turn around and use it.
I
for
think
the-
Chad is gonna go ahead.
Get the money from what? From Gilbertson?
The Old Gilbertsville. water
He's gonna go ahead and
plant, 'cause it's already
advertise it and
finished.
this, we're gonna get it bid. And, because I got the documents on it last week. He's gonna go ahead and get it out.
Okay.
Maybe by the next meeting, we'll have something done on that.
Okay.
I've got two items.
Two items, Bill.
Lake Cypress, remember we noticed that the way the lines were running out there, we had some problem, and then we realized the lines were all messed up out there. Is that a project down the road?
We have Cypress Lakes is either is or will be under new ownership.
Okay,
We have talked to, Tim and I have talked to Greg about the need for easements for lines out there. And we're waiting to find out exactly who is the owner of that facility
The new-
before we can move on that. But
Okay.
that's where that is. And yes, we still need to get easements and then figure out what we're gonna do there.
thanks. Number two, just driving around Kentucky Dam State Park. I just hang out up there and kind of tootle around back by the, the homes they have, those old cabins. And they have been digging up lines from those cabins. The road we rode on last night, and they had bunch of gravel in the middle of the road there on the concrete little line. So something's happened.
Bicycle route.
Oh, that's okay. You just gonna have to take a mountain bike and get your butt off your seat. And, take those bumps.
They said that they've been doing a lot of line
Lot of
work.
Yeah, it's like Bill said, there's multiple.
We
Places
had,
where they-
we had a conference call with them the other day.
Okay,
They're still very interested in tying into our sewer system.
well, it looks like they're upgrading theirs,
They say they're upgrading theirs and we're waiting for flow information from them.
Well, and the other thing, is Silas was wondered about was that pump. Who's gonna maintain that new pumping
Lift
station
station.
they put, lift station,
They've
So that-
basically indicated to us that that would be their responsibility.
Right.
get it in writing. Yeah. And hold them to it because,
And it's a question as to
experience.
where that's gonna be sitting, but there's some easement issues out there that we need to get and depicting on which side of the road they're gonna run it on and so forth, but, that.
Sounds like you're on top of it.
They're making progress, but are they?
Well, thank God they're working on it. Let me tell you, I mean, things like that, you know, I worked at the golf course pro shop. All that infrastructure was worked on when there was an emergency.
Right.
There was not maintenance.
Right.
It was when there's a crisis.
Right.
And so it's good to hear that they're, you know, it's good to see.
At council meetings, Scott has been reporting that they had money and they were working on it finally.
Yeah, they probably have some
They're
infrastructure.
doing a total rehab of
And-
the sewer.
I don't know how well it is, but they
Lines.
did indicate that they definitely wanted to be tied into our system if at all possible. They want to get out of the sewer business
Sure.
and if they will be willing to put some agreement together. So right now, we're continuing to talk with them. That area.
The way they was talking that they should have, if I understood it right, they were supposed to have their flow meter installed within the next month and a half.
Really trying to get a kind of grip on,
So they can kind of see
because
where
they
they're
don't
at.
know.
They don't know.
Scott told us that they didn't know, and then they did some calculation, or somebody did, and we got a number of 35,000.
35,000 a day.
A day, yeah,
I found it
We
hard to
don't-
believe, but
we don't know
see.
that for sure.
Was that a rainy day? That's, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta average that baby out.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Cunningham,
That was my list.
before you take off around the world?
That's right, I gotta go. If you have that note burning, I need you to postpone it for May. Make
I'm gonna do it while you're gone.
It's been a while back.
Michael,
No, sir, I don't have anything.
you don't have anything? I'm good, Steve, you good?
Yeah.
Harry?
I'm good. Thanks for the maps.
Yeah, we like these maps back there.
I'm not sure that one will stay up there on that board like that.
I'll take them down, take them in there and put them in there in the other office and I'll bring them back in here.
It should help. It just help.
Well, when we're talking,
They could stay hanging over there.
when we're talking about, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I don't know.
Gravity. Gravity.
But I mean, when
The
we're
red.
talking about different projects, I mean.
It is. It's nice to look over
It
there.
is.
And there it is.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
pretty darn handy, yeah. Like it.
Tim said the red lines on that map were pressure lines and the black lines were gravity lines for
Right.
sewer. And then the water is down at the bottom.
Get another deluge.
$10,000 thing.
Fixing to get another deluge.
Okay,
That'd be more helpful.
all right, 5:34 to have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, Barry and Steve. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Linda, you can go home.